basically, our goal today is to walk you through all of the data and answer any questions that you have around the data. We're also going to give you access so that you can play with the data after this event. You'll have online access to the data so you can play with it and say, "Oh, I wonder what clients of this size feel like or what that." So just know that's all coming. But today is really a discussion. So feel free to ask questions. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat while we're talking, and then I will sort of interrupt as needed from there. So, okay. So let me just tee up the topic and then we'll jump in. So, the way we do Agency Edge every year is Susan and I get together in the fall and we talk about sort of what are the hot topics that we think agency owners need more insight into. But if we were asked their clients, give them a truth serum and ask their clients questions that you want the answers to, what would that look like? And no surprise, the topic this year was AI. And so what we asked them was sort of a series of questions, which we're literally going to walk you through. We asked them how they're using AI and feeling about AI themselves and in their organization, how their agencies are using AI today and how they feel about that, and what they want from us as their agencies in terms of AI. So those were the three sort of, if you think about big bucket focus areas that we asked for and that we probed into. And the good news is there's huge opportunity in this study. Sometimes when Susan and I come to you, we have a lot of bad news and we have to sort of deliver that bad news. There's actually a lot of good news and opportunity here. So a lot of blue ocean opportunity, I think, for agencies. So with that, Susan, why don't you start and just talk a little bit about the methodology and all of that?
Yeah, terrific. So, um, this is for those of you who have been following the Agency Edge for the past 12 years, you will notice that this is a new platform that we are visualizing in. It's called AdMaple. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's going to allow you guys to explore everything and understand it, and you don't have to be a statistician to do it. So that's why sort of a new look and feel. We'll be sending this report to you guys later. Within a couple of weeks, it will be updated so that every chart I'm going to take you through today is explorable. You guys can look at it by a whole bunch of different factors to your whim. But yeah, Drew, I mean, for me, um, this is one of my favorite studies. We've talked about this. It's one of the things we heard at the Build a Better Agency Summit in May. And I think part of it is just because it does present such positive, um, just such positive news. So
Yes.
let's talk really quickly, sort of about what's going on here. So generally speaking, setting the stage, one of the things that surprised me about this was the extent to which agency clients are looking to us to help them with AI. I know that a lot of us have wondered sort of whether clients want to get rid of us or maybe looking to downsize. The overwhelming majority are not doing that. In fact, it's really the opposite. And there's some fascinating data in here. I think about what they see, Drew, as the benefits of their agencies using AI that I think will surprise a lot of you. It surprised me. So that's sort of top line. So I'm really glad that you're sticking around. So as always, this was a statistically reliable set of agency clients, small to mid-size agencies. We controlled the respondents that we accepted based on how big their budgets and their revenue were. So these are not Madison Avenue agency clients. These are our clients. Um, this year, things were a little different in terms of the profiling because Drew specifically wanted to get not only people who are decision makers for their organizations when it comes to their marketing activities and their budgets, and therefore their agencies. But also, we wanted folks who had control over the legal or compliance matters that affect their agencies, because there's a lot of questions around, is it okay to use AI within our industry? What are the guidelines? What are the rules, et cetera? So as you can see in this chart here, 91% of these people say they're decision maker when it comes to activities, 63%. So the majority of those are also responsible for budgets, and 40% of them are responsible for those legal or compliance matters affecting the work of agencies. We've got a range of job levels. You can see high level folks here. And that's part of the reason I think we see such responsibilities overlap, Drew, is a lot of these folks are in
Right.
charge of these organizations. Um, a huge range of areas of responsibility across the board. Obviously, this is a choose all that apply question. And a good range of ages. 46%, almost half of them are under 40.
Which I think
But
we are seeing more and more of that
yeah,
our we are not aging, but our clients are getting younger.
no doubt. That's true. Um, so let's talk about their organizations a little bit, just so you could see where they are. So we've got B2C, B2C, B2B, folks selling to nonprofits, B Corps, government. Here is revenue. And as you can see, we've got about 45%, almost half, that say their revenue projected for 2025 is 10 million or less. So we do have some of the bigger folks in here, but still no more than 500 million in terms of revenue. And in terms of budget,
Hey,
they're
Susan, those
yeah.
numbers are really small on the screen. I think you are going to have to
Okay.
read more numbers than.
Okay. Is
Oh,
that better?
that's better. Yep.
Yeah. Let
It's
me
like
bump it up.
it's like going to the eye doctor.
Well, I have my bifocals on, so maybe you need to get some glasses. Um,
Bite me.
so So the budget, here's the thing. The majority of folks are under 1 million in budget, and almost a third of them are under $250,000. So I want you all to know that these are the kinds of
These are
clients
your clients.
that
Yeah.
you are looking at. Absolutely.
Yeah.
81% of these folks have an in-house marketing team, and that was not controlled for in the screening on the respondents. So the vast majority of these organizations have some level of team. However, they're relatively small for a lot of them. 30% have 6 to 10, and you can see we've got another, what's that, 42% that are 5 or fewer. So most have teams, which is probably what you're seeing too with your prospects, but they're relatively small teams. The other thing we wanted to know was about niche. So half of folks, 46%, say their organization definitely has a niche. And when we asked what their niche is, and this is an open-ended question, but we've categorized it so you could kind of see it's a huge range of stuff that they're doing. The reason we ask about niche is because over the last few years, we've been seeing the impact of having a niche on the preference for agencies.
Right.
And it's highly correlated with those organizations having a niche too. So we definitely wanted to take a look at that. So that's them and their organizations. Let's take a look at their agency relationships. And if you guys have questions, Drew, do you want questions just in the chat if they put stuff in?
Yeah, I
Because we'll
think
open up
while we're
for,
walking through the data, if you have questions, put them in the chat and I'll interrupt. And
yep,
then we'll open it up for vocal questions towards the tail end.
yep.
Yep.
Okay, so here's their agency relationships. And Drew, as we've seen a trend, we've got the majority of these folks having at least two. 63% have only 2 to 3.
Yeah.
A few have more than 5, and just about a quarter have only one agency. And how they're using their agencies varies, but number 1 and 2, project execution and strategic guidance on a regular basis, which Drew probably aligns with what you're hearing from your agencies in AMI.
For sure. Yep. Right. So
Um,
I think one of the interesting notes is that you're gonna recognize your clients as always with the agency edge study. You're gonna see a lot of your clients. And when we get into the segmentation, you'll see them even more.
yeah, for sure. Um, we looked at this marketing team information, but here it is based on here's the number of agencies they have based on in-house marketing team. So note that the folks who have more than 5 agencies, absolutely 100% of them have an in-house team, where if they only have one agency, 32% of them say they don't have an in-house team. So that's probably aligns with your expectations. And
Yeah.
if they've just got one agency, they're going to be more reliant on that agency for the work that's happening across everything. Okay, here's the fun stuff. Let's look at the segments. So You guys probably remember every year we write a specific set of statements that we put in front of respondents to understand their mindsets. And those statements are around the topic we're exploring. So hiring or firing or employees or whatever. This year they were around AI on a whole bunch of fronts. How do the respondents personally feel about AI and the extent to which they're using it and are comfortable with it? How do their organizations feel about the same thing? And then how do they feel about their agencies using AI, which is really the crux of the conversation. But I think it helps to understand that we're going to see a lot of information, not about just that agency relationship, but also about what's happening on the client side, even down to the individual.
Yeah.
So we've got three segments this year: AI embracers, which are 31%, AI skeptics, which are 41%, and AI opportunists, which are 28%. So largest group here is the skeptics. So let's take a look at the agency embracers first. These are folks who have very tight relationships with their agencies, even if they have more than one. They value them. They say they're worth the money. They recognize that marketing today requires a lot of technical expertise, and differentiation is really important to them, which is part of why they are so reliant on their agencies. And if we look at how this is the set of statements, we're going to go through them that basically are tied together for this group, whether they realize it or not. And what we're looking for here, these blue boxes are top two box agreement, very strong agreement. They're a 5 or a 6 on a scale of 6. So it's important to develop a long-term relationship with an agency. We are comfortable with agencies using AI in their work for us as long as they're transparent about how it's being used. So look at the percentage there. There's a high level of comfort, but it is linked to this transparency, which we're going to talk about more. We need marketing that strongly differentiates us. Our agencies are worth the money we spend with them. We have strong relationships with our agency partners. I trust our agencies to understand evolving regulations. This is the AI embracers. They're AI embracers,
Right.
not agency embracers. So you could call them agency embracers too, quite honestly, because they definitely do that. This is an important one: understanding evolving regulations around the use of AI in our industry. Very strong agreement with that. So that's one of the things you're going to see that they want from us as agencies. They say they keep up to date with marketing tactics. This is something we've seen over and over again in the last few years, Drew. Agencies should consistently approach us with new ideas and recommendations without us having to ask. So this is one of those expectations of these tight agency strategic relationships that we've seen over and over.
Yeah.
I trust our agencies to tell us when and how the use of AI is right for us. Marketing today requires a lot of specific technical expertise. Our agencies are a critical partner for business success, not just marketing. We will follow the guidance of our agencies about using AI in our marketing. We understand the best marketing tactics for our needs. Agencies need to be AI experts. So this is 51% strongly agreeing in this group. My organization, yeah, go
one of the
ahead.
things you're going to see throughout the study is their expectations of our knowledge, ability to lead and teach around AI. That you're just going to hear that over and over. And this group in particular, so every year we have a study that people are like, if all my clients could be these people, this is who I would want to have. And it is the embracers this year. These are the clients that all of you would covet, and you probably have some of for
Yeah,
sure.
and
Yeah.
we're going to look in a minute, because the downside that we've usually seen with these types of folks is that they're the little guys.
Yeah. Low budgets,
That's
right?
not the case.
But not this year, right?
Not
That's good
this year.
news. Right.
Um, the other thing I think is really fascinating. So one of the things we're going to see about the AI embracers is that they are comfortable with AI. They are using AI in a way that a lot of people aren't. And I love this statement that's associated for them with all these others. Reliance on AI generated marketing by our competitors will make it easier for our marketing to stand out. So they have a very savvy perspective
Yeah.
in terms of differentiation, which we know is critically important for them. So that's how they view that. So that is the AI embracers. Let's look at the skeptics. This is the largest group at 41%. This is fascinating to me. My organization needs highly tailored marketing approaches that AI can't deliver. And again, regardless of agreement or disagreement here, these are connected and defining for this group. AI generated marketing will never be as effective as marketing created by humans. Marketing is too complex for organizations like mine to do without professional help. I often wonder if the deliverables from our agencies are AI generated.
So here's another theme you're going to see throughout the data is in all of the segments,
Yep.
they feel underinformed about how we're using AI, why we're using AI, what the results are. So we have opportunity to be more transparent. That's another word you're going to see throughout the study. They want to lean on us more. That's one of the big takeaways from this study. But they feel like in some cases, we're just not telling them. In other cases, depending on the segment, we're purposefully keeping it from them.
Right. And I think that perception on their part and that reality that is a gap in
Yeah.
communication is inflating their concerns. You're going to see a list of the things that they worry about, and so many of them could be addressed, I think, fairly easily with communication that
Yeah.
improved. I worry that the use of AI may cause agencies to eliminate the people we rely on for expertise and support. And this is an important clue for this group. Their skepticism about AI isn't just, are we going to get afoul of regulations or things like that? Is our data going to become public? They're worried that they're going to lose the people that are really important to them in their agency relationships. I worry that deliverables from us may be generated by AI instead of humans. I worry our agencies may start prioritizing information from AI tools over our perspective or input. That's an interesting one.
Yeah. It's almost like they feel like their agency is going to be controlled by the robots and is going to stop thinking for themselves or allow the client to think for themselves. So
Yeah,
again,
it's almost like they think they're going to get replaced
right,
by AI as the
right.
client.
So
Yeah.
so more transparency, more conversation about how we're using AI will start, and we'll get into some of the other things they worry about in a little bit, but this is a very manageable group. You can move them, you can reduce their skepticism significantly just with some communication, which we'll talk about as we dig deeper into the results.
And they're very eager for us to do that as
Yeah.
agencies. That's
Yeah.
what they want. I worry that the use of AI may weaken the relationships and collaboration with our agencies. I love this. I worry that our agencies may not be adopting AI quickly enough, leaving us at a disadvantage versus our competitors. Oh, and down here, I worry that our agencies may be adopting AI too quickly without understanding its limitations or
Typical
training their teams
clients.
from. They don't know where the line is.
Right.
They don't know what they should be asking for. I suspect our agencies are using AI in ways they're not telling us, and I worry that AI generated content could harm my organization's reputation. So this group is really defined by a host of concerns about the impact AI is going to have on their marketing and the impact it's going to have on their agency relationships. That's what makes them skeptical.
Yeah.
Biggest group. Okay, opportunists. The reason I call this group opportunists, and I want to talk to you about them before we look at their stuff, because what you're going to see is a lot of stuff in here about how they may not need us anymore. That is coming from a place that appears to me in the data to be based on a very unrealistic expectation about what AI could do for them. So let's take a look at this group. Beginner-friendly AI
So,
support
hang on,
tools.
question here. It looks like a lot of these people in the skeptic group do not agree with the statements. That's what the red is. That's
Yes, you
yes.
will see overall, people are using AI. They are relatively comfortable with it. which is why you're seeing negativity on some of these. But this group of attitudes, nevertheless, is defining for this group, and they feel much more strongly in agreement with these than anybody else does.
Okay.
But that's why you're seeing that negativity, because overall, they're feeling okay with AI, generally speaking. In general, that group's a difference. Okay, let's look at the opportunists. So 33%, 24%, that's 58% strongly agree in this opportunist group that beginner-friendly AI-supported tools can help companies achieve professional-level marketing results on their own. And Drew, I don't think that, I mean, it's self-serving for us to disagree with that statement as agencies, but we're not alone in disagreeing with that statement.
Yeah, I think we all know that it does take the human intervention and direction to take generic, just spit it out, whether it's blog posts or whatever from AI, and make it something that's actually valuable and meaningful. I think we all know that. Will that always be the case? I don't know. But
Right.
right now, is that the case? So I think one of the truths about this group is that their aspirational view of AI is perhaps inflated by ignorance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My organization is considering moving more of our marketing in-house with the help of AI-supported tools. So you see pretty strong agreement on that. That's 30, 40% strongly agreeing. Here's the kicker. Even if AI-generated marketing isn't as good as that developed by agencies, it's worth pursuing considering the cost savings. And this group agrees with that to a significant extent and far more than anybody else does. So there is a cost saving aspect to this that's important for this particular segment.
Well, and in a little bit, we'll show you sort of in order of how and why they want us to use AI, what they think the benefits are. We'll show you what the group as a whole thinks about the cost savings. Because I think that's one of our big fears is that agent agency clients are going to come at us and say, well, we know you're using AI. And I think this is one of the reasons why some of you are not as candid about your use is because you don't want then the follow-up question of, well, then I'm assuming it's going to be cheaper, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to see that that is more of a prevalent view with this group. This group is really about like, I can save some money
Mhm.
um, as opposed to the other groups. Susan, somebody asked the question, the AI enthusiasts, they were like 31%, right?
AI enthusiasts, embracers are
Yeah.
31%. Yep.
Yeah.
This opportunist group is 28.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So this is the smallest of the three groups, by the
It
way.
is.
Yeah.
More than ever, my organization can perform marketing tasks ourselves we would otherwise pay agencies to do for us. Outside marketing help costs more than it should. We've seen this pop up with a segment of respondents in many of our recent studies over the
Yep.
years. I expect my organization to significantly reduce our reliance on agencies in favor of AI-supported marketing tools we can use ourselves.
What's the
AI,
percentage on that one?
this one strongly agree is 23%.
Okay.
AI may eliminate the need for marketing agencies completely. So why this is 27% strong agreement, this is the same situation we had up here, right? Generally, the group does not want to replace their marketing agencies completely. This group is more likely than others, but there's still a sizable percentage of them, that's 23%, that says absolutely not.
Right.
Really strong disagreement. And my organization knows more about using AI to support our marketing than our agencies do. Again, there's what, 21% that strongly agree, and we've got 30% that doesn't. This group agrees more than others. And this attitude is connected to these other ones in the set. So I would really think of this group not as, 28% of them want to get rid of their agencies. That's really not true. What they are is folks who think that AI presents an opportunity for them to save money and reduce what they're using agencies for, but again, based on an unrealistic expectation of what their marketing is going to look like if it's AI only produced. There are some non-defining attitudes, so these aren't associated with any particular group. But I want you to see the percentages for the overall. Humans will always deliver more creative work than AI supported tools. So that is 45% of respondents strongly agreeing with that. My organization has the expertise to do our own marketing, but not the time. And almost exactly the same numbers. We have the time to do our own marketing, but not the expertise. So those are common reasons for having an agency on board.
Right.
Hiring an agency is a necessary evil. So we do have 26%, about a quarter, which is kind of where we've run when we've had this question in for the last 4 or 5 years, Drew. We
Right.
typically get about a quarter of respondents to strongly agree with that, but we also get about a quarter of respondents, here it's 29%, that strongly disagree with that. I suspect our agencies are saving money by using AI, but not passing the savings on to us. This is a not insignificant number. That's a quarter. And that is one of the things, one of the worries that they have. So we'll see a little bit more about that later. I suspect our agencies may be downplaying how much AI could do for our marketing efforts. Similar numbers. It's
Susan, it's
important.
really hard to know what those numbers are. Can you just help
Yep.
use that question and help us understand the gradient of the questions so
So
we
this is
can,
a 6. So we gave them a 1 to a 6. 6 is extremely strong. I agree completely. So the blue is strongly agree,
okay,
right? So when we look at those numbers,
got it.
I'll put the numbers on the chart so you'll see them when we
Yeah,
send
that'll
this
be
out.
helpful. Yeah.
It's important to change agencies periodically, even if they're doing a good job. Look at the strong disagreement with this
Yeah,
overall.
that's good news, right?
It is good news overall. I wanted to show you a couple things since we've seen the demographics and the business profiles of these folks. I wanted to point out a couple things where there is a statistically significant difference between segments. And one is at the AI embracers. So that's that group that everybody wants, right? They love us. They really want tight relationships.
They
Look
want
at
us to guide them through
that's
the
right.
AI journey, right?
So blue is the embracers, orange the skeptics, red the opportunists. Look at the percentage of embracers that are in this $25 million group or plus or over in terms of revenue. So contrary to our previous studies where we've
Right.
seen a group like this, and it's always been the little guys, this time it's the big guys, the folks who most love us, who most want us for strategic work, and to help them with AI are the ones with the bigger budgets. On the smaller end of the scale, what we see is those skeptics who are worried, right? So that's revenue. Here's budget. Same thing,
Right. This
bigger
is good news
budgets,
for us, right?
right? 39% have over $500,000 in budget. So yay for us this year, or good
Right.
news. Not surprisingly, um, the folks that have more agencies are more likely to be AI embracers than the folks that only have one agency. And then let's look at the skeptics. There is a statistically significant correlation for the skeptics on age. 53% of the respondents that are 50 or older are skeptics, which means that if you're talking to a client or you're talking to a prospect, there is a 50-50 chance that you're talking to a skeptic. So that's
If they're
important.
over 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if you're over 50.
Yeah.
That's right.
And
Yep.
and when you think about it, the adoption of technology and all of that, this is not surprising. You probably see it in your own agencies as well, is that a lot of your younger employees are quicker to adapt to AI. So not super surprising. The good news is, again, most of the larger clients, bigger budgets, are the ones who are the embracers. So I think the other big insight out of this is the skeptics are movable, right?
Yeah.
I think with more communication, with more education, and we're going to talk a little bit about the education aspect in a little bit, but if we show up differently and we show up as a guide or a Sherpa helping them understand what AI is and isn't and how they can use it, and we're more transparent about how we're using it to their benefit, I think what we're seeing is the level of skepticism can greatly be reduced. It's really about ignorance and discomfort that we have control over.
Yeah. The other thing I want to impress on all of you is we talked about the statistically related demographic business profile information. That's it relative to the mindsets. There is nothing else about these agencies that has anything to do with which mindset they're in.
Right.
Okay. So we know those embracers, bigger budgets, bigger revenue. We know those skeptics, more likely to be in that 50 plus group than the other segments are. But there's nothing else that will tell you that an agency, by definition, is in one of these groups.
Right.
So have an open mind as you think about your clients and stuff. Okay, let's look at how they're using AI. Generally, as I said, most of them are using it often, and most of them appear fairly comfortable with it. So let's talk about the respondents first. These are the people who actually took the survey. 47% say they are completely comfortable using AI tools, and 34% are very comfortable. So when we
And one
look,
of the things you're going to find fascinating, though, is when they say they're comfortable using the tools, we're going to show you the tools they're using. And
they don't go very
well,
deep.
one of the top ones is Grammarly. I'll just give you that preview. So we're not talking sophisticated use here.
We're
There's
not.
huge opportunity for us to introduce them to new tools that will do things that are going to blow their mind that we're
Blow
already
their mind.
using. We're just not talking about it.
Right. So this is great. And remember, this includes the skeptics as well. So there's a lot of comfort individually on using AI tools personally. A lot of them are using AI for work. 19% say all the time, and 51% say often, right?
Yeah.
And look at the value ratings for how the respondents say AI provides value in their work individually. Very high. So we are not overall dealing with a group of Luddites here or skeptics about AI. When we look at this by segment, you see some real differences. Okay, so here are our skeptics in orange, right? 26% of them say they are completely comfortable. It is 61 or 60% for the other two segments. So what you're going to start seeing here is a dichotomy between the first and third segment, the embracers and the opportunists, in their use of AI, and the skeptics, right? So
Yeah.
much less likely to be completely comfortable and more likely to be somewhat. Same thing we see in their use of AI at work, right? We see a lot more on the sometimes, rarely scale for skeptics. And look at the value differential, 16%. It is 3 times higher for the other two segments, the embracers and the opportunists, when it comes to AI having an extremely high value than it is for the skeptics. Now, a lot still say high value. So one of the interesting things to me about this, Drew, was how many of them are using AI very often and how
Right.
many of them are seeing value even in the fairly simplistic tools that they are using.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just
I
keep in
also think
mind.
I also think some of that is it's so new that anything that it does is sort of magic, right?
Well, right, and a lot of those gains are going to be in. We're going to see how they're using it, but a lot of it's efficiency stuff, and that
For sure.
can really make a huge difference in your weekday, in your week.
Yep.
So I think that's where a lot of them are seeing them. But even for that, the AI skeptics are a different animal. Let's look at how their organizations are using AI. So we're differentiating now between the people who took the survey and what they say is going on at their organization. Lots of comfort on the part of their organizations about AI usage, right? 29% extremely, 45% very comfortable. Only 4% say they're not very comfortable with the use of AI in the work for the organization.
And again, this is their use of it in their own organization at this point.
No, this is their organization's comfort with it.
Right. But I'm saying it's not about us using it. It's about
Right,
their
correct.
comfort. Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And again, we see this break between the skeptics organizations and everybody else. Look at the percent that is somewhat comfortable on the skeptics. That's 40%. It's 10% on the other two. So we see a real flip here again with what's happening with the skeptics organizations. Now, again, a lot of these folks are in leadership. So that may have an influence on how comfortable they say their organizations are
Right.
if they're leading it. Um, the tools that they're using extensively, right? We see 14% saying they're using extensively overall. We do see a difference between the skeptics and everybody else. And a great degree is 39%. So lots of people saying tools are being used a lot. 51% of the respondents say that their organization sanctions the use of AI tools by employees with restrictions. So we didn't specify what that is. So that could be we only allow them certain tools, we only allow it for certain use cases, we only allow it for certain people in the organization. But that's the majority. 30% say they allow it without restrictions.
Right.
The largest group, 50%, say that their employees can use any tool they want to explore with prior approval and or some restrictions. So it looks like most of our clients have a process for saying, hey, I want to try this out for this use case, and they're considering approvals. 38% say they only allow an approved list of AI tools, and those are not very, they don't go very deep, as Drew said. Only 11% are saying go for it, use anything that you want.
So a couple questions in the chat. So no, the clients did not self-identify which of the segments they went into. We used their responses to recognize which category. We made up the names based on
Right.
their responses. So how they responded put them into one of the categories. So they
Yeah.
did not do that. We classified them number one.
And those buckets weren't determined ahead of time by
That's
us.
right.
Drew and I
Right.
didn't sit down and say we expect to see these kind of people. It's just
Right.
based on all those ratings that you saw of those attitudinal segments that mathematically put people into one group or another.
So the next question is, were any of the sanctions mentioned because of environmental impact? We've had two clients in the last week talk about that.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't think we had a question about the kind of restrictions. However, we have a very large group. Oh, not for this, we don't actually. For agency clients, that's for agency leaders. We have a large group that we could ask. So that's a good
Yeah.
question. I will double check, but I don't think we had anything open-ended on what the sanctions were.
Just that they were concerned about
Something
regulations and
they had
sanctions. Yeah.
they had something that they were, yeah. Okay, so what are the sanctioned uses? This is everybody. If they're sanctioning, so what are they sanctioning for? The
What are they
majority.
allowed? How are they allowed to use
That's
AI
right.
inside their organization?
So the big ones are probably the same things we're using a lot of AI for:
Yeah.
researching topics or categories or organizations, analyzing, visualizing, or exploring results, research or other data, summarizing meetings and transcripts, outlining reports, etc. 46% say they are drafting written content for external use. 45% are drafting it for internal use. So this is interesting because to me, I just think it's interesting that the same percentage say, we're using it for our in-house stuff in communication with our teams or our partners or whatever, as is using it for drafting content for marketing or stuff, customer support, client reporting, stuff that clients will see. 38% are generating status or initiative reports for clients using AI. Look at the difference in the use of sanctioned uses by category. Here are the skeptics, and they consistently lag. So not surprisingly, because of some of their concerns about AI, they are less likely to be using it for almost anything. Pretty close on drafting written content, but we see big gaps on a lot of this other stuff. What are they using? Well, here's the list of the tools they say they're
Right.
using.
So again, no big surprise. We could have polled you and had you guess, and ChatGPT is going to be at the top, and Gemini makes perfect sense. But really, in the grand scheme of things, Grammarly and Canva are the next two big uses. So as we talk about opportunities in this study, one of the ways there is huge opportunity is for you to introduce your clients to some of these other tools and how and why and when you're using them. They have very little knowledge about or experience. I mean, even Perplexity is 11%. That's
Right,
insane.
right.
So
And
huge learning curve opportunity for them. And the one of the big takeaways from this study is they we'll get into it in a second, but they expect, not want, not hope, expect that we are going to be subject matter experts in AI, and they want us to be their teacher. And so
right,
you can see there's a whole lot to teach them here.
no doubt. We did have an open-ended on this question. Somebody at BABA asked about Copilot, which we did not have on the list. There was a small percentage in the open-ended that said they were using Copilot.
Mm.
So it wasn't that big. And 45% of clients say they are encouraging all employees to explore AI tools. So that's less than half. 43% are limiting it to only certain employees that are encouraged to explore tools, which I think is interesting. I also asked them if they think employees in their organization are using unsanctioned AI tools for work. Overwhelmingly, yeah, they're pretty sure that they do. This is 45% saying they're either completely sure or fairly sure that they are using. And my guess is it's probably even more than that.
Yeah, my guess is too.
It's like a drug. It's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to not use it. Here's training.
So hang on, Susan, can you scroll up for just a second? A
Yes.
little bit. So when you guys get the link to this, one of the things you're going to see where it has these recommendations. So we've gone in and put in recommendations uh, of what we think the data is telling you the opportunities are. Heather, I don't
Yep.
understand your question. Can we see the survey as you go through it? I don't
I
understand what
think
the
I
answer
think
is.
Heather wants to see the actual survey. So when we send this out, Drew, I'll make sure that you have the PDF. Oh, you're not seeing the
Yeah,
data? Or
no, she's not seeing the questions. Well, I think that's your view then, Heather, because we're all seeing the data.
we have a
So,
shared window. It's probably on your desktop someplace.
so I think the view,
Okay.
do side by side gallery. Try that. Did that work? Okay. All
Okay.
right. Keep going, Susan.
Okay, good to go. So you were saying, yeah, we've got recommendations on all of these for you. Okay.
And we're gonna develop a PDF as well. So yes, you can go online and look at all of this, but we'll also have a written document for you in probably 10 days or so that will give you um, a hard copy to review the data, review the recommendations, and all of that. So we're trying to give it to you in as many ways as we can. We
Right.
just we just are just coming off the summit, and the information is comes in hot right up against the summit. So we're just
That's
we're
right.
just uh, we're just catching up with ourselves.
Good, Katie. I'm glad you like the recommendations. We've got them all the way through.
Yeah,
So, and I expect we'll hear more from our agency partners as we share the data on this throughout the year.
yeah.
Okay, so AI training, only 32% of clients say they are providing AI training for all employees. More than half say it's only for some employees, which I think this is interesting, Drew, because I can't imagine having an organization where only some of your employees are trained on AI tools for use in the agency or for clients or for creative.
I think one of the takeaways from this is they recognize the value, but they don't know how to wrap their arms around it. And they certainly don't have the time, or in some cases, the permission to experiment with it enough to figure out how to implement it in their organizations. So for many of you, this is a new revenue stream opportunity where you can create training for clients around some of these tools, how they can use them, or whatever that may be. Someone said a manufacturing team member or field worker may not need training unless they're using AI powered equipment. I'm not sure that's true, Ellen, because I think that at the end of the day, operationally, this is one of the other takeaways. They don't want us to just teach them how to use AI for marketing. They want us to be looking at their entire organization because their perception is we either are or are going to become experts in AI. And you're going to see how valuable they think that is in a minute. But they believe that we should be able to help them implement AI throughout their entire organization. So again, new revenue opportunities for us.
Yeah. And I don't know about you guys. I mean, Audience Audit is definitely not as expert in AI as a lot of the community members in AMI are. But one of the things that I have seen is that it's hard to say somebody can't benefit or use AI or training them won't help, because until they get a hold of it and start to think about what it might be able to do for their job function, you don't know. And we've seen some really interesting things just from people saying, hey, I don't know that you know this, but I have to do this, and I found this great way to do it with AI. So I think there's value, but certainly there's an opportunity for training support overall. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about that in some of our recommendations. Okay. So what are they using AI for? And again, Drew, this is in their organizations, not necessarily around what their agencies are using AI for, right?
Yeah.
So on all of these, you can see the options we provided. We don't use it. That's this dark color. We don't use AI at all. This blue, this royal blue, it's used by agencies. This is consultants or freelancers. This is in-house marketing team. This is in-house sales team. And we also gave them the option of saying, this isn't something we do, or I don't know whether AI is being used, right? The ones to focus on from my perspective are the agencies here, the in-house marketing team, and I am surprised. Look at the extent to which AI is being used by in-house sales teams for
Right.
all of this stuff. Predictive analytics, data analytics, written content creation, research, 20% on sales, strategy development, e-commerce and web development, graphic design, content personalization, SEO, positioning for products and services, marketing automation, media planning, video and audio content creation, chatbots, community management, PR, and customer loyalty. And as you go
So
through this, you will see where agencies are taking the lead versus where in-house marketing teams are taking the lead.
So one of the other opportunities in this study is HR has a pocket of money, sales has a pocket of money, R&D has a pocket of money. These are new revenue pockets of money for you to go after outside of the marketing department. So for some of you, your relationship with a client is pretty sort of corralled in with just marketing. AI is going to give you the chance to have conversations with different departments that have different budgets.
And
Uh,
do training, like you said, with different.
Absolutely, right.
Look, I couldn't believe the percentages of their sales team that is using AI for a whole bunch of this stuff. And if that group doesn't need training, if they're doing graphic design creation
Yeah, it's frightening.
and optimization, I'll eat my hat.
So the question is, Susan, was this a question where they could check as many as applied? So could they say, for example, for predictive analysis, could they check all of the
No,
users?
they could only check one,
Okay.
but they could check. The previous question was, which of these are you using it for? Right. And then they were asked for the ones they're using it for, right? Like,
Who's using it?
are we using it? So no, but there was only oh, actually, no. No, this was a one only.
Okay.
This is a one only.
And then Scott's saying, did you look at the totals in this subset, i.e., is it a total of around 25 to 30% of sales teams doing any of it?
I didn't calculate it that way, but I can. You can see these are listed in the order of popularity. So predictive analytics and marketing data analytics are used by more of our folks. In fact, this is a choose all that apply because look at the numbers. Forgive me. You're
Yeah.
right. The choose all that
Yeah,
apply.
but Scott, to your point, I mean, if you look at the sales department, it ranges pretty much, it's in the low 20s
Yep.
all across. So you
Of
can
the
assume,
ones who are
yeah,
using it.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Really interesting. Okay. So marketing strategy development and automation. Again, we see this lag among the skeptics in general about who's using it. But you certainly can see agencies are more likely to be doing that than like their in-house marketing team, or it's fairly close. We see the same thing for written and audio content. Agencies are leading in that overall. For in-house, for content personalization and graphic design, in-house marketing team has a little edge above the agencies, as they do for website or e-commerce development, and even for SEO. Media planning popping up for agencies. In terms of positioning and PR, it's often the agencies that have a slight lead, although you can see it's pretty close. And then again, agencies for predictive analytics, in-house marketing team, pretty close here for marketing data analytics. So you guys can go through this and sort of see which segments are using it most. But what you're going to see is that consistently the AI embracers are really likely to be using things, followed very closely often by that opportunist group. So the thing you have to understand about the opportunists is because they expect that this can reduce costs and help them to not pay agencies for as much, they are very aggressive and very forward thinking in terms of wide use of AI, wide exploration of AI, using it for a ton of different things. So you'll see those first and third segments pop up on most of this compared to the skeptics.
And by the way, the opportunists, I think, are going to learn very quickly that this isn't as easy as they think. And there is opportunity for us to step in and course correct that misperception. So normally we have one segment where we're like, don't even bother. Like last year, we had a segment that we were like, these are, if you have prospects like this, like walk away. This study does not really have that. There's just this study, I think probably Susan, more than any other study, other than the how do we sell more to existing clients
Yeah.
study. This study is just rich with opportunity and new opportunity. That's what I'm excited about this. This is not just we can sell more of the same thing that we always have to the same people. I just think this is a guidebook for you of as you develop your expertise in AI. And I know I want to keep us moving because we have a lot more content to get through in 30 minutes. But the the core message here is I expect agencies to be the experts in this. I'm willing to pay more for an agency that is an expert. And I want them to guide us. And so all throughout this, you can look for your organization. Where does it make sense for you to lean in and start to develop new offerings around not only how you use AI, but more importantly, how you can help clients use AI in
Yeah.
parts of the company that maybe you haven't had any access to.
Yeah. You know, one of the things we haven't talked about, Drew, that I hope you'll weigh in on at some point is when I saw this, the percentage of in-house teams that are doing a lot of this stuff made me wonder, you know, trust building is incredibly important with
Yep.
clients these days. And where does an individual agency draw the line in terms of saying, that's not a battle we're going to fight. Instead, we're going to train their team and partner with them to do it really, really well because we actually don't want that business to come in the agency. But I think with these percentages, there's a lot of opportunity to support clients to do the stuff well that will have an impact on our metrics, right?
Well, the
But
reality is one of the things we're seeing, we're doing a lot of client satisfaction surveys. And one of the things we're seeing is that clients across the board in every one we do, clients are saying, look, I want to take the minutia work, the commodity work. I want to bring that in-house. I can do it
yeah,
cheaper and faster in-house
yeah,
than paying an agency to do it. What I really want the agency for is I want guidance. I want strategy. I
right.
want them the big ideas. I want that. I don't want my internal team to do. I think this underscores that, which
Yeah,
is the in-house teams are not going to go away, but if we are the Sherpa or the guide to how the in-house teams use AI, we can, to your point, give away the commodity work that we can't get paid to do anyway profitably. We can help them be better at it, which supports our
right.
efforts at a bigger level, for sure.
Well, that commodity tactical work we see consistently in our studies is not what builds agent loyalty to agencies.
That's right.
It's the strategic stuff.
Right.
Okay, so here's the thing. Few of these folks say their agencies are AI experts, right? Look at the percentage that say, right? 13, look at these numbers. Let's change it to percentages so that we can see. Only 15% say all of their agencies are AI experts, and only 32% say most of them are. So there's a lot of opportunity here for AI expertise.
So
And
this
this
is a mix of you're not talking about it and or you're not an expert
They
yet,
don't know,
probably.
right?
Right.
They're sort of guessing. Look at the serious concerns. So this was put in front of everybody. They could choose all that apply, and the specific question was about serious concerns or challenges about using AI in marketing. 50%, is it a helpful tool? 43%, we've got to train for it. 42%, we need to make sure this stuff is aligned with business objectives and not disconnected experiments. 35% in evolving regulations, dealing with that. Risk of non-compliance, proprietary data becoming available to competitors, the cost of switching, lack of proven examples of successful AI implementation for companies like ours.
All of you can dissolve most of these concerns
That's right.
with your expertise and with better communication.
That's right. That's right. And it's not surprising, we see skeptics having more of these concerns than others, but this is significant across the board. Even the embracers are worrying about a lot of this stuff. So we have some recommendations with respect to that. Okay, this is my favorite section in the whole study, Drew. It's what they expect from us in terms of our usage of AI on their behalf in the next year. Okay, look at what's at the top of the list, guys. Generate more new ideas, improve analysis of effectiveness, increase the effectiveness, better optimize our spending. That's not reducing spending, it's optimizing it. Create higher quality work, collaborating more effectively, increasing creativity. These are strategic
Right.
objectives. These are really not efficiency stuff. They really want big stuff, right?
They want deeper and more. That's how they want us to use AI on their behalf. And you can see reduced fees is down to like 30%. And
30%
so
say they want
reducing
that.
the number of staff at the agency 16%. This is not about cost savings for them. This is about better. And so
Yeah,
the more you can talk about what you do with AI to delve deeper, to get more information, to have better insights, that's actually what they're hungry for from us.
yeah. They specifically do not want us to get rid of experienced strategists, experienced creatives. Like they do absolutely not. That's
Yeah.
antithetical to what they're interested in. Um, and look at the consistency. I mean, sure, our skeptics are lagging a little bit, but man, it's across the board that this strategic opportunity is what they hope for. That's what they to your and that's what the phrase in the question said. What do you expect?
Right.
Here's the challenge. When we look at what they know about agencies using AI, right? A lot of them are like, not really sure. Here's what their priority is. Top priority, half of respondents said that knowing how we are using AI is a top priority for them. How we are using it. Why and when we are using it, a top priority for a quarter of them. So these are really important, right? But look at the percentage that said their agencies have fully discussed this with them. Here's fully. Half, 52%, have fully discussed why we're using AI on their behalf. 48% have fully discussed when. And the most important thing they want to know, how we're using it, only 45% of their agencies have fully discussed that with them.
And I'm going to argue that even that could be a deeper discussion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Who's getting most of this discussion? It's you'll see it here in this chart too, but it's the embracers, okay? Because they're pushing that conversation. Has your organization, respondent, discussed your perspective, your guidelines, your processes around AI with your agencies? Look, same numbers, 45% said they've fully done that. So we're not pushing it for half of clients. They're not pushing it either. The ones who are pushing it are the embracers.
Yeah.
And they're more likely to have had these conversations. Everybody else, and look at the opportunists. They're right down here with the skeptics. So no wonder they don't really know what their agencies could be doing with AI, because those conversations are lacking. Okay, this is AMI member only data, guys. When we do the webinar on Friday for the general public, this data will not be in there. Look at the extent to which respondents say that an agency having a recognized reputation for AI marketing expertise would have an advantage in being hired by their organization. 41% say definitely. 36% say probably.
So again, this is reputation, which means it's not you saying you have an expertise, it's the world saying you have expertise. So this is you being a thought leader. This is you being on a stage. This is you being published. This is you, the world at large, recognizing that you're an expert.
Yep. So if you were hiring an agency today, this is the percentage that say this would be very impactful, definitely give you an advantage, is this 26%. So actually, these are backwards. I got to fix this. Look at the red instead of the blue. The agency is recommended by someone we trust as number one. Really strong, definitely get you hired. Described by others as being an expert in a niche. Drew, we've seen this before. Huge advantage for those organizations. Described by others as being an expert in AI, as opposed to claiming to be an expert in AI. Describing by others as an expert in a niche, claiming to be an expert in a niche. There is an 8 to 10 point differential in the power of saying you're an expert versus having somebody else say that, in other words, having that reputation. So we've got some recommendations in there. You can't just say it, you got to get other people to say it.
Right.
Yep.
So a couple questions come up. Sky is talking about running an experiment at the agency on the tangible impact of using an AI tool for content workflow. Have you collected data similar to that in terms of, we didn't get into that specific of how they were using it, Sky. So no, we don't have that data. Mary Kate saying that they've created an addendum to their agreement. So that's one of our recommendations, that you should be calling out how, where, and when, and why you used AI. So Mary Kate, that's spot on with our recommendation. Mary's saying, would you agree that being an expert in AI means you're monitoring trends and actively learning to understand what's new? No doubt about that. But it's also, I don't think it's just that. I don't think it's being a trend watcher. It's changing every day. We all know that. And so, yes, part of it means we don't have the answer because it's always changing, but that we are constantly using it enough that we are delivering value. I think the era of experimentation just to experiment is over. They know that they can get tangible value from AI, and they expect us to know how to do that. So that's their expectation, is that let's just use ChatGPT. However you're using that for clients, let's say you're building a custom GPT for them, you're going to say, here's how we're building it. Here's what it's going to do for you today. We know they're going to keep making it better. We'll keep telling you how it gets better, but here's what it does. Here's what it does for you today. Not, we think it's going to do this. It's not aspirational anymore. It really does have to be practical. With the overlay of, we know this changes every day, so it's just going to keep getting better or different.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say, is that, Mary, I think that, to Drew's point, clients know it's changing every day too. And I think that our constant understanding of those changes and our constant adjustment to opportunities with new tools and recommendations and stuff like that is an important element of building trust with clients.
Yeah.
They need to see us learning and giving them the latest data. Remember, part of the concerns that people have is we're afraid you may be moving too fast and getting over your skis because you don't really understand what's happening. Or you're moving too slow and competitors are going to eat our lunch because they're taking advantage of AI opportunities that we're not seeing because of our agencies aren't seeing them. So I think to Drew's point, there is a combination that needs to happen that they're really looking for. And I think that will make them really sticky to us.
No doubt.
Okay, so in summary, and you guys are going to get this whole thing, one of the things that really struck me at BABA, Drew, was, we did have new agency core data showing a real decline in optimism among agencies. There's a lot of uncertainty. Even though some agencies are doing really well, people are kind of freaked out and it feels like things are out of our control. This is something that we, and I say we as an agency owner myself, this is something we can do. This is something we can control. So I find it extraordinary that there is this blue ocean opportunity out there that so many agencies are not seeing in terms of building a reputation for expertise and deepening the conversation with clients and providing guidance and services, whether it's revenue enhancing or training that you're doing to build trust or whatever. It's just huge what we could do.
I think the big thing here is they're saying this is what I want from my agency.
Yeah.
So number one, they're identifying the opportunity for us. And number two, what they're saying is if my current agency can't or won't do this, I will eventually find an agency that can. I have a hunger and a need for this. And I know I can't do it all myself. I'm willing to open up the entire organization, not just the marketing department, because we know AI can be impactful in HR and sales and other places. So for me, this is almost they want to place an order. We just have to decide if we are going to lean in and fulfill the order.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
I also don't believe that if you're not figuring out how to use AI internally for your own agency and for clients, I'm pretty sure you're not going to exist in the way you do today in 5 to 10 years. And so part of this is the world is giving us a mandate. It would be like designing everything by hand rather than using a computer. Like agencies just don't do that anymore. And this is the same sort of thing. And so the good news is the world is sort of pushing us in this direction. The great thing is our clients are anxious for us to get there faster. And so there's huge opportunity for you to have new revenue streams. And we've outlined some of those in this report. And we'll outline even more of it in the PDF as well. But you can see you guys are going to get all of these recommendations. And then we're happy to have conversations about them afterwards as well. But just these are some thought starters for you. So with that.
The other thing, if I can, Drew, before we open up Q&A, I think, I hear a lot from agencies that they're struggling to differentiate. And that's part of this pipeline problem that we saw so overwhelmingly being the challenge for agencies in the new agency core study this year. And this is an extraordinary opportunity to stand apart. And whether you're a generalist agency or a niched one, this is separate from that. This is completely a real golden ring to grab onto in terms of standing apart versus your competitors. And I think there is a moment in time where this is going to be that kind of opportunity, but the folks who get ahead of it will stay ahead of it. Because when everybody else is trying to develop that reputation, you'll already have it. That's the really differentiating factor. So I just think this really excites me. We're doing a lot of work internally based on the results of this study, and I hope that you all see that as well. So we've got about 20 minutes. You want to open it up for?
Yeah, so you can either put a question in the chat or you can unmute and ask a question.
And I just want to let you know there's methodology on here too. And look at this. and AI disclosure, so you know what we used AI for and what we didn't.
Yeah.
I want to thank our partners at Full Circle Research for providing the panel for this. They're super excited about this too, so we want to be grateful for them as
Yeah, we are
well.
grateful,
Okay.
right? What questions do you have for us?
Do you guys want to
Or
unmute?
you
Yeah.
can unmute or put it in the chat and I'll call it out. But
You may have this in the recommendations, but there's a lot of conversation that we're starting to have around positioning it with clients as it's a tool. It's a tool like any other tool we would use, and we
yep.
evaluate tools we have. Like, have you heard that, or what are your thoughts are of saying like AI, like positioning it with clients as to what it really is?
We've got some recommendations you'll see on that summary page. One of the things that Drew and I believe is that we need to turn the conversation that clients are thinking of having from faster, cheaper to stronger, better. So I think the right positioning for AI based on the data from clients is to position it as a strategic tool.
No
Yes,
doubt.
it can also bring efficiencies, optimization, but I think we need to be, because there's so much conversation. And I saw a post just the other day about how, you can do everything your agency can do and, all of this kind of stuff. We need to make the conversation about it as a strategic tool and that it's human-led AI. It's not AI on itself. And that aligns, Mary, with research we've done in the past couple of years, where clients are saying strategy is what makes them sticky and loyal with their agencies. It's not, they see the tactical stuff as basically they can just change it out with anybody who does it. So I
Yeah,
think this
stable
is a
stakes.
really a nice opportunity to dovetail what they've been telling us for a few years and position AI as squarely in that space.
Yeah. And I think one of the ways to position it as a tool is that it allows us to get to answers, more answers quicker, right? It's a data cruncher, it's a number cruncher, it recognizes trends. So it allows us to get to deeper insights faster. And so again, it's not about that it's cheaper. It's just that we can give them better more, as Susan said. So Heather says we're seeing a lot of our clients are worried about losing their job to AI, and this data will help reposition that for them. No doubt about it. This is not about replacing us. I mean, any of us who've played with AI or are using it in our own organizations know that it still has to be human led. It may
Yeah.
replace some roles in agencies, right? And elevate roles. So no different than from clients, it takes the commodity work out and elevates the work, which is why we all got into the business in the first place.
Yeah, and a lot of you'll see 10 ideas on that page that Drew talked about sort of what we could do. Under each of them, it's going to talk about the value for each segment as well as for your agency. And a lot of the ones around your agency are about upskilling your team,
Yeah.
getting them to think more strategically across the board, regardless of their job, and reassuring them of their value as an AI partner, as opposed to being a victim of AI replacement.
So Scott's saying with the number of places and ways this is impacting how we work, what are you seeing that is effective in terms of internal training and assignments to dive deep into the important areas?
Mm.
I think some of that's going to be very specific to your agency and the kind of clients that you serve. So for all of you, you're using different AI tools based on the deliverables that you're promising clients. And so I would start with an internal discussion around what are the highest value things that we do that really lock us in with clients, get us to the strategy table, get us to the C-suite table. What are the tools that will help us do that better? And I would develop I would start at the top, right? In terms of the value proposition. I wouldn't worry about are we using ChatGPT to write blog posts? Like I think we're way past that stage. I think it's really about how can we leverage a handful of tools? What's our tech stack? How do we leverage a handful of these tools to really be so valuable to our clients that they can't imagine doing it without us because we're so insightful and we're able to give them such depth of knowledge? Then I would figure out how to have training programs around that. And Scott, I don't remember if you have anybody in your organization that's in our AI group, the CTO group, where they're doing those experiments every month. But for those of you that do have somebody in there, you know that what you're focusing on is what tools should we be using and how do we leverage those to be as smart as possible on behalf of clients in a way that they can't do themselves. So I would ask that question first.
Yeah, I'll
I,
add to Drew, Scott. While I think that, obviously we saw that the how are agencies using AI is the most important to clients. I actually believe that the most important question for agencies is why we are using
right,
AI.
right.
And some of the stuff that we've recommended in terms of transparency reporting around AI usage and conversation with clients, that question of why, I think, can drive a lot of growth in our team members and in us to really think about, since we have to be reporting this to clients, why are we using AI? What value is it bringing? What strategic value is it bringing? So I think that's for us anyway here. That's the element that I'm focused on. Why are we using it? Because there's lots of stuff you can do, but if you focus on the strategic outcomes, the benefits, I think that's going to keep our team on the straight and narrow. So I think that's a super valuable question to be asking.
And I think the added to that is how can we teach something to a client that is an immediate value to them?
Totally.
And maybe it has nothing to do with marketing. So again,
Right.
it's opportunity for you to have new revenue streams of being a teacher or a coach that perhaps you've not had inside those organizations before. I'd be looking. I think there are some amazing things that agencies and clients are doing, like in the HR, like screening resumes and things like that. Just some basic things that your clients don't know about that you could teach them and add value that would again begin to establish your reputation as that expert. What other questions do you guys have for us? I know that I know it's hard. This visualization was a little different than last time. I know it's hard to sort of grasp some of the data. It'll be really helpful for you to be able to go through it all, and then follow up with Susan and I with questions, which we're happy to answer. But what other questions do you have about either the data or how you're using AI or how your clients are using AI? We're open to fielding all of those questions.
I just had a question around if anybody else was seeing kind of what we're seeing is one of our clients around image generation and their transparency with their customers about AI generated, imagery, and if anybody's coming across that and what kind of successes you're having, or how do we go about that, because that seems to be a sticking point right now.
Shannon, are you saying they are not being transparent with their customers or clients about the fact that they're creating AI generated images? Is that what you're saying?
They're a little bit stuck because they want to be transparent about it. How do you do it? And kind of if they should be, but we aren't allowed to do it right now because they're stuck with that.
Well, I mean, I think certainly one of the things that is already coming out around it, and I wish Sharon Torek were with us because she would be able to talk to it. But legally, there are going to be even more regulations around disclosure around all of this, and so I think one of the things you can do to help your clients now, I know your clients are big and complicated, and in a highly regulated field. So you're even more so, I would think they should be even more motivated to make sure that they are fully disclosing because they're at greater risk than the local, butcher, baker, or candlestick maker. So I think perhaps working with someone like a Sharon Torek to come up with some recommendations for clients about how to disclose, where to disclose, when to disclose might be a huge value you could provide to your clients about helping them think through that conundrum because it's not going to go away.
Yeah, they're in a paralysis by analysis.
No doubt.
Part right now. And
yeah,
how do we help them get on stock so that we can be more effective in our work? Because we are limited on what they have as resources for us to use. So they've been sort of pushing it, but we keep getting the hand. Stop. We're not ready for that yet.
Well, if you get on a podcast to somebody that they trust talking about this and modeling good behavior, maybe senior leadership will listen.
I would develop some tools for them, some simple templates and tools, and maybe some guardrails and guidelines for them to. I think they're stuck because it's so expansive. So if you could give them something tangible to discuss and either agree with, disagree with, or edit, maybe that's the way to move them off the dime.
Yeah, and working with their brand team, which is also hard to get in front of them, and because they're going through a metamorphosis on their own right now. So
Yeah.
like, how are we approaching this? What are we doing? And we've got this. Don't tell us what to do.
And obviously you're going to have your own rules and regulations too. And so maybe you also start with saying, here are the boundaries and rules that we have set up for all of our clients around disclosure, and see if they can get comfortable within your rules. So maybe it's not about them creating rules. Maybe it's about them being comfortable with your rules.
Yeah.
But I know that your clients are particularly complicated. So this may be a baby step effort rather than a come in and just save the day kind of a thing for you. Because they're not good. They don't move fast on anything.
No,
Right. So
they do not.
no, right.
Glacial.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
You bet. Other questions?
How are agencies repositioning their branding themselves to meet this new demand? I've thought about putting a little AI asterisk looking thing in my logo or changing verbiage on my website. How are people embracing this and changing how they position themselves?
I think it's not about visual changes in terms of like how you present yourself. Like I don't think it's about what you wear, if you will. I think it's about how you behave and how you talk about how you behave. So I think the way to reposition yourself is to actually become an AI expert, using it in a plethora of ways, talking about the experimentation, the results of that experimentation, and making it just part of your vernacular. No different than, Rob, your agency has a very focused niche that you serve, and everything you talk about is within that niche. So I think it's the same thing with AI, is that you just talk about it like it is normal and it's something you do every day, and you just normalize it, and you talk about it in an intelligent way that makes someone go, oh, they really know their stuff. And look, they're getting some great results. They not only have a depth of expertise in my industry, but I'm layering on their AI expertise. Why wouldn't I hire them? So I think it's about walking it out as opposed to what you put on a website or what you do to a logo. I don't think that's going to fly. They want proof, and the proof is in the work.
Yeah, I agree with that, Drew. And one of the things I worry about is there are a lot of folks out there being AI first, and not really doing very well, not,
Right.
not including the human. And I don't want you to get confused with them. One of the things Drew and I recommend is specifically providing thought leadership around the use of AI in your marketing. So even if you're doing thought leadership around your niche, I've got a separate thing I'm starting with respect to AI in research and providing some of that help. And so I think that there's a thought leadership opportunity above and beyond what you may already be doing around your niche to just really set yourself apart, as Drew says, and make sure that your prospects are seeing that, and so are other influencers that they listen to in their industry.
The more you position yourself as a helpful teacher, the quicker you're going to earn that reputation, Rob. We all value when someone that we can learn from on a regular basis. And so if you just keep teaching them how you're using it and show them ways that they can use it themselves, I think that's the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for that. I think we're seeing customers use it, and then that becomes the opportunity to go have a conversation about it. We'll see failed attempts or images that are clearly generated, boilers with smokestacks on them and stuff. That doesn't make sense that AI does.
Right.
And so we use those as opportunities to coach.
Yeah. And I think you don't have to wait till they do something to coach to it. I think you can proactively coach and talk about how you're using it as well. Another question, any feedback on the value of certifications or communicating the level of the type of AI training of agency staff to clients? I don't know that there has been like an established, I will say, for those of you that aren't familiar with the Marketing AI Institute, they've got some great training for agencies that is well respected. But I don't know that clients are sophisticated enough to recognize what certifications or training are actually legitimate versus, BS. So I think talking about the fact that you're constantly training and learning is important. I don't know that it's as important to say, we got the Forbes training or the Harvard Business School training. I don't know, unless it's a name brand they recognize, that they understand where the value is. But the fact that you are constantly learning and training and then teaching what you've learned, that I think is the value proposition.
Yeah, I agree with that, Drew. And I'd also say I think the opportunity is to make everyone in the agency an expert at using AI for something.
Yeah.
I think that's where the value is going to be seen. You want your video people to be experts at using AI for video. You want your content people and your creative people. I think that's really the opportunity with clients, is just to get individual experts throughout the agency deep. So it's not just the senior leadership and it's not just the bottom of the rung tactical people. It's everybody has a specialty in something.
Yeah. So Pete asks, how far are agencies going in saving their AI prompts for IP reasons? That might be a Sharon Torek question, but as usage grows, it feels daunting. Is it a case by case? Well, I don't even know, Pete, if they have decided, and of course, laws change. I don't know if they've even decided that that's IP you can protect and how you go about protecting it. All of this is so new. So yeah, I think it would be a great conversation to have with Sharon, and I'll circle back with her and ask this question and get something from her. I know she's getting ready to go on vacation, but I'll get it from her in the next couple weeks and get back to you. And I will include it when we send you the information. So in the member only emails that I send out, I'll send you the recording of this. I'll send you the link to the PDF once we get that done. And then I will make sure I include that question, that answer from Sharon. So, what are the best tools you see agencies using to market audience usage trends that is reliable?
For market and audience usage trends that are reliable.
Even in terms of AI outside of chat, because it seems so unreliable.
So Morning Consult is a great resource. They publish a ton of massive studies around B2B, B2C, all kinds of interesting things. It's not super cheap. I subscribe to it because their stuff is really good. It's very ethically done. They're not AI respondents. They've got a massive panel. And they just are churning out really great research all the time. So if you're in a niche or have clients in a certain industry or whatever, you should go check out Morning Consult. They often publish stuff for around, you can look up specific brands. You could, if they're, larger brands, industries, there's just a ton of really good trend stuff that they're keeping an eye on. I really like them as a resource.
All right. We have time for one last question if anybody has one. Otherwise, you all know how to get a hold of both Susan and I, and we're happy to field other questions. So we were super excited by this data in terms of just the opportunities it presents. And like Susan said, there's a lot in the world happening right now that we feel like we don't have control over. This is something we have some control over and can really add great value to clients. So we're hoping that you're seeing that opportunity as well.
Did somebody have a question? I heard one.
Yeah, I was just going to ask real quickly, when you guys were collecting data from your surveys and things like that, did you come across any information on how clients may be searching online when it comes to the way agencies may use AI? Certain terms maybe that they're searching, or if it's even a thought when they're searching for new agencies.
We didn't get into that level of granularity. Given the interest in AI expertise by agencies and given the priority that they're putting on that in terms of having agencies that are experts, I have no doubt that they are looking for something. I don't know exactly what it is, but I feel like this is a topic that this is not going to be the last time we explore this, whether we do another sort of dip into the details type of study or whatever. So I will note that question, and we'll see if we can get some answers on some of these additional things.
I think the relevant thing that did show up in this study, though, is what they don't care as much about is that when we say we're an expert, what they care is that we've earned the reputation and we've demonstrated that we're an expert. So I think that's the nuance that we have to all pay attention to. It's not about you as Susan say, putting something that says we're AI first or whatever it is, it's you have to walk the talk. They're looking for proof.
Yeah, look
Whether
at
it's
the
somebody else saying you're an expert or that your case studies show it or something, they want verifiable proof from someone or something.
Yeah, a lot of the recommendations in the report have suggestions about how to do some of that. So
Yeah.
take a look at that. And Drew and I will be talking about this long beyond this call. So we'll try to bring as much in terms of ideas we hear from agencies as well as our own thoughts on it in the coming months for sure.
Yep. All right, you guys, this wraps it up. Hopefully
Thanks,
this was
everyone.
helpful. We'll get the recording out to you as quickly as possible and the documentation of all of this. And I'm sure this is not the last time we're going to be chatting about all of this. So we will see all of you soon. Thanks for sharing some time with us today.
Have a great day, everyone.
All right.
Bye.